Good morning, boys and girls. It's time to do some math. So, I wanted to tell you that I'm really, really proud of how well you guys are reading the clock. And I know it can be tricky at first, but as soon as you understand it, you'll never ever forget it. So, you guys are doing a really good job, and I'm very proud of you. But there's something else I want to talk about concerning time and the clock. And that is when we have, you may have heard it before, something called AM, and those are actually abbreviations, or not abbreviations, for a Latin word that means before noon, and PM. So your AM time would be any time before 12 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to type that right here, okay? So AM is any, okay, let's get rid of that. You guys know that Miss Jessica is still learning this program, so I don't exactly know what I'm doing. So we're just going to put this down here, okay? All right, let's try that again. So AM is any time between midnight and noon. So what does that mean? Midnight is 12 o'clock at night. So that means when you're sleeping, or maybe you've stayed up till midnight before, or maybe on New Year's Eve you've stayed up to midnight, but most of the time we are asleep when it's midnight. And midnight is at 12 o'clock. So what is noon? Noon is any time after AM. Let's see. Anytime between midnight and noon. So midnight is 12 o'clock at night, and noon is 12 o'clock during the day. So 12 o'clock noon is when the sun is up and when you are eating lunch, and it's halfway throughout the day. So we know that there are 24 hours in the day, but those 24 hours are split into two groups. They're split into AM and PM, and the clock hands will go around the clock 2 times throughout the day. So sometimes the clock hands are both pointing at 12, and that would be 12 o'clock, but is it 12 o'clock AM or is it 12 o'clock PM? Well, AM is when you're asleep. It's at midnight. Okay, that's also when a new day starts. Noon is at 12 o'clock during the day. This is when we eat lunch, when the day is halfway over. Okay, midnight is 12 o'clock at night, and that's why we're sleeping. Okay, so when is PM? So PM is going to be any time from, let's see, 12 o'clock noon until 12 o'clock at midnight. So, and that is like in the afternoon when we would go to fitness. That was in the PM. Or when we would go to, not Chinese, because Chinese was in the morning time. How about when we went to, I think that was the only special we had during the afternoon. Most of our ones were in the morning. So 12 o'clock until 12 o'clock midnight, this is when we would go home after school. Okay, so that is PM. So the clock will always go around twice, but we have to figure out if it's 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock AM or 2 o'clock PM. So how do we do that? So we are going to move this little thing right here because it's getting on my nerves. So the way we do that is we have to think, because sometimes, even though it may be 2 o'clock in the morning, it could still be dark outside. So we can't decide based on when the sun is awake and when the sun is asleep, because even though it's 6 o'clock at night and the sun is awake, that's still PM. So anytime after 12. So let's look at it. If my minute hand is pointing to, oh, gotta get my mouse to work. The 1, we're gonna pretend like that's pointing to the 1, and my hour hand is pointing to the 7. This time would be 1:35. So what kind of mouse is it moving? What kind of things are we doing at 1:35? Well, that depends if it's 1:35 in the afternoon, so after lunchtime, or if it's 1:35 in the morning. If it's 1:35 in the morning, we're most likely sleeping unless you get upset maybe with an upset tummy or want some water. But 1:35 in the afternoon is when we would go to our afternoon recess. So we've got to think, we got to be careful because we can't judge it based on the sun, because sometimes in the AM before noon it's sometimes sunny, and then PM is sometimes still sunny too. So we got to think about that. So this is a little difficult to understand at times, and I just wanted to introduce it to you. You're not going to have any assignments on AM and PM this year, but it is something to get used to thinking about. When is AM and when is PM? So AM starts at 12 o'clock at night, and then it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes, like today, I had a Zoom at 11:30, and even though it's bright and sunny and the day feels like it's going on for a long time, that is still 11 o'clock AM because it has not hit noon yet. But as soon as it becomes 12 o'clock in the afternoon, now we go into PM. So our clock hands are going to go all the way back around again. So then it's going to be 1 o'clock PM, 2 o'clock PM, 3 o'clock, and probably right around this 7, 8, 9 o'clock PM is when you guys are going to sleep. And then it goes around, and a lot of times you will wake up again at like 6, 7 o'clock AM. So, like I said, this can be a little confusing. There are some fun YouTube videos and some fun games online that you can play to practice this. So this is not something you have to know. I just wanted to introduce it to you guys. So you guys do have an assignment today in math. So go get started on that and let me know if you have any questions. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.